Okay, you're live and
hey. I am alive. It's alive.
All right.
What was that movie from?
So, do you want to?
Happy birthday, Marine Corps. Today is a Marine Corps birthday, so I want to make sure that I give a shout out to all of the Marines out there. Happy birthday, Marine. My phone's been blowing up all day with birthday greetings.
Oh, that's nice.
Yay.
Hoorah.
Hoorah.
Here, let's do it on all of us so that we're all. So, welcome to our live stream. We're just going to give it a few minutes for people to join us, and we are excited to get to answer everybody's questions.
Got an eyelash.
I think I'm in Treasure's office.
This is cool. We have cameras and computers and the studio. Yes.
Yeah.
In Sequim, Washington. So we're in Sequim, Washington. It's weird because it's already getting dark outside and it's only 4:30 at our time. So we had an hour change last Sunday. The flag went down. We had a color guard at 5:52 on Saturday, and then on Sunday it was at 4:51. So it's like, whoa, we lost an hour. But it was weird because we woke up in the morning and it was dark on Saturday morning, and then Sunday morning it was a little lighter. We were camping out in the rain and the mud on the side of a hill. So that was, I didn't even realize there was a time change. And my alarm went off and I'm like, why is the sun up? What happened? And it didn't take long to figure that out. Anyway. So, yeah.
All right, so before we begin, Darren, which we've got 38 on, so that's
Hey,
good.
guys. Hey, yeah.
Okay, are you Christmas decorations in before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving?
Oh, okay, call me a traditionalist. I think that it's really fun when you're Thanksgiving and everybody's over, and after Thanksgiving dinner, you start to, start the Christmas season, the celebration season. So maybe the Christmas tree goes up that evening.
All right.
Now, does that really ever happen? I don't know, but I think traditionally that's a very Americana DNA type way of doing it.
Yeah.
It's never happened then.
And then on New Year's Day is when you take it down. That's just, I think that's the bell curve of American tradition, but I don't know.
I know more and more people are starting early, and I actually put my Christmas CD in just the
Oh,
other day.
well, isn't it like right after Halloween is when the Christmas tree goes up?
I think,
Okay.
you do it, whatever.
Right after Halloween is when the Christmas tree.
Yeah, I'm like Sid. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
After Thanksgiving, I'm good.
Yeah, it just feels like that seems the normal, natural. And I know the marketing people try to push it farther and farther to maximize their purchasing, or selling.
Yeah.
But your Christmas or Thanksgiving, people are there, and you that's when you start. Well, isn't that when the Macy's Day Parade is, and Santa Claus comes and waves? That to me has always been the official start.
Yeah, I've never done it on Thanksgiving, but it sounds like it would be a good.
The Macy's Day Parade kind of starts it.
Okay, we're gonna actually get started now.
Okay, all right.
We'll start with actual RV related stuff. So thanks everybody for joining us. We're glad that you're here, and we're here to answer. Well, Darren's here to answer your questions, and so we have a couple of them pre-queued up just to give everybody time. But basically, how it works is you just type your question in the live chat, and we will answer those pretty much in the order that they're put on there. And we're usually able to get to just about everybody's question. And so anything RV, troubleshooting, diagnosis, repair related, even if you're looking to become an RV tech, we do have our Patreon side where we have an exclusive live stream after this. We usually go a little deeper into like the business side of things, but you're welcome to ask those questions here as well. So go ahead and start putting your questions in the live chat as well as where you're from. And we've got a new person here.
Yes. Ta-da!
That's my husband.
Yay.
And he's joining us, and he's gonna reluctantly help me, but yeah.
He does all of our YouTube editing. Yes.
Yeah, the video that announced this live stream.
He edited that. Yeah.
So okay, well, Why don't we start with the first question? So let's see.
I haven't even seen any of these questions. Well, some of them when they're live. You know, that's the whole deal of being live.
Someone's saying it's really hard to hear you. Do you guys have
Oh, your lavalier's not on. Oh.
Is it better now?
She didn't have her lavalier on.
I went to go get water, and I forgot to put it back on.
Can y'all hear me okay? Because I've got mine right here.
So I'm not going to make y'all listen to all of that all over again, but we just want to make sure that you know how to ask your questions. So you put your question in the live chat, your RV troubleshooting, repair, diagnosis related question. Even if you have like a business question, you can feel free to post that in the live chat, and we will take those. We have a couple pre-queued, so you have some time to get your questions in there, and we'll go ahead and let me know if there's any issues.
Yeah,
but we'll
audio
just assume
or
that
video.
it's all good.
Yeah.
Now that I put my mic on.
Yeah.
Okay, so Howard says so he just has something to share with us, and I don't know.
When I look this way, I'm looking at Sid and Trisha. When I look this way, I'm looking at Ann. Yeah, so if you see me looking, that's what's going on. Okay, so I'm looking at Trisha now. Okay.
Yeah, you're on. Okay, it's all good. So I have a picture, so I'm going to try to get it on the screen somehow. But Howard said, I just wanted to share this with you guys, so maybe you can share it with your audience. So he called in RV tech to replace his wiring harness, and when the tech arrived, his slide was already working again. He had an intermittent problem, but they decided to go ahead and replace the cable and inspect the old one after he got it out. And then I'll try to get the photo on here somehow so that you guys can see it. But basically the wire got cut.
Ooh.
And so that's just an interesting thing.
I'd like to see that picture.
Yeah, if I was better prepared. I had intended on getting that queued up so you guys could see it, but
we've been busy.
Yeah, here. Maybe I can do it this way. I have an idea, but you know how ideas go. I'll ask you the next question.
Yeah, and while you're figuring that out. Okay. I'll do my best.
So Bert asks a question about winter storing in my Class A. I have two 6-volt lead acid batteries, house batteries, and the automotive battery. If I keep the shore power plugged in, the converter will keep the house battery safe, but what about the chassis battery? Do I jumper the house and chassis batteries together for the storage period so it too gets the trickle charge? I also have solar panels on the roof which would normally do the job, but I plan to cover the RV, so not enough, if any, light will reach the panels. Plus, a guaranteed snowpack will make sure they won't see daylight for 3 or 4 months. We live in Salmon Arm in South Central BC.
Oh wow. Okay, so you're correct. When you mileage may vary. Different manufacturers do things different ways. Overwhelmingly, the house batteries and the chassis batteries do not even know that each other exists. They do have some isolation relays that they can bind them together. But follow with me on this. You've got your starting battery. So the quick answer to you is you just take some jumper cables or something and just kind of connect them together. That'll be enough to keep them trickle charged throughout the winter. That's your simple answer. The next part of that answer is something I like to discuss with people on having your converter charger charging your chassis battery, and then your alternator charging your house battery. So we're talking about house batteries and chassis batteries. Chassis batteries are going to be like your starting battery. That's a starting battery, and the house battery is usually a deep cycle battery. The starting battery that you're going to use to start your rig, that is kind of like, I think of it as a one-shot. It's going to give a lot of amperage, enough to get that engine running, and then it's basically shot. Maybe it'll try it a couple times until you get it to turn over, but it's expecting that alternator to put out a couple hundred amps to recharge it right away. So those batteries work very well. A lot of power all up front, and then they're done. That's a starting battery. That's its goal in life, is to start things. But it's not going to leave your lights on for a long time. Deep cycle battery on the other side of the house there is once it'll give you, you will destroy it if you try to start your engine with that house battery, but it'll run your lights and your furnace for hours and hours and hours and do just fine. So there's your two differences on the seesaw of batteries. One's for a quick shot, get it started, and then it's dead. It needs to be recharged from that alternator. The other one, low and slow, long and steady, discharge over a long period of time, and then it wants to be charged back. usually in your house battery, they have 3 phases. You have the float, or the bulk absorption and float, okay? And then you have the equalization. You would not use those techniques to charge your starting battery. You would use those techniques to charge your house battery. So the whole issue of connecting your 2 batteries together, okay, which goes back to the first point, was now you're taking your starting battery and you're connecting it to your converter that has a bulk absorption and float, and that's not the correct mathematical way to charge the starting battery. But if you're using it for storage, typically the bulk absorption and float feature of the house battery, you're going to mostly be in float, which is enough to keep your your chassis battery trickle charged. So hope that made sense, but it's enough to do it in storage. But on normal operating procedure, you would want the alternator to charge your starting battery, and you would want your battery converter charger to charge your house battery. Okay, so I'm going to leave it with that. So to landing my plane, sure, take some jumper cables during the winter time and just, clamp onto your chassis, clamp onto your house. You'll be fine. Just leave it that way for charging, maintaining, if you will.
All right. Let's see our next. Oh, I was going to see if you want to somehow.
It looks like here. There's this cord right here. Okay, what am I looking at?
If you want to try to put that in if you want to try to put that up on the camera, maybe.
Here, I'm going to hold this.
So this is. Yep, you're good.
Left, right, up, down.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think they can see that. So that's where that.
Okay, coming back to you.
What was it? The wiring harness that he said? Or
what were the wire? I didn't even look. I just saw.
Oh, it was from.
A black wire was bit in half.
Yeah, and so that was, they replaced the cable.
What kind of slide room?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So. And those are intermittent, because depending on what was cutting into it, a vibration or bump could dislodge it, and then it touches again. We did a video, gosh, it seems a couple years ago. The RV was green. It was a green Winnebago travel trailer, and it was an intermittent fault. And we're tracking this thing, man. We are chasing this thing, and all of a sudden it just disappeared. The problem was gone. There was nothing else to troubleshoot because the problem was gone. But we got a good video out of it anyway. But I never heard back from the gentleman, so I'm assuming that it stayed gone. And it could have been something as easily as me tugging on wires. Maybe it was the wire was resting on a frame member, and we just moved it, and it moved it off. And it could have been something just like that. Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna start with some of our live questions. I'll sprinkle in the pre-queued questions here and there. But so Patrick Stiltner, yeah, Patrick, you're over on our Patreon. Hey there. Norcol 1210, freezer won't go below 8 degrees on a mild day and 18 on a warm day. Refrigerator works as intended. It's always run on electric.
That's interesting that the freezer won't get that cold. Normally, because the way these, I could draw a picture, but the way these go is usually it's the opposite. You see the freezer freezing and the refrigerator not maintaining temperature. So if the refrigerator is maintaining 37 to 40 degrees, but your freezer won't go below 8, or it gets to around 8, this is Fahrenheit. I'm assuming Fahrenheit. I'm going to say Fahrenheit. That seems a little warm. Normally we like to see them well below 0. So what would cause that? My first knee-jerk reaction to refrigerator performance issues is ventilation up through the back cooling unit section. So what you're going to want to make sure is that you have a perfect chimney, and as perfect as you can possibly make it, where the air gets drawn on the bottom vent, and depending on if you have it leaving straight out through the roof or out through a slide room. If it goes straight out through the roof, it's not required that you have fans. And here, I'll draw a picture here. So here is your refrigerator, okay? And this is the opening on the bottom, okay? And then if it goes out the top, okay, so the air gets drawn in and out through the top, wonderful. It's not required that you have fans because natural convection is going to draw this in and vent it out the top. If it, on the other hand, is going through a slide room, then fans are required. So you might see a vent here, and let me get rid of my ventilation thing. So a lot of times, so what I'm thinking your problem is a ventilation problem. specifically, it's not making it through the top condenser fin. And so the top condenser fin, a lot of times I'll put it like, that's this fin thing up at the top. There we go. Okay. And what you need to look for, so if your refrigerator is sitting inside this opening, you want to make sure that there's no, that all this is stuffed in with like insulation or something, that there's no way that air can get back there on both sides. So you want a 0 clearance on the sides. You want less than a 1 inch from the back of the cooling unit to the back wall of your refrigerator. But I think where you might see your problem, and you could chime back in, is what I want you to make sure is when you take this cover off, you really, I'm going to change to red here. I got a new color here. You really need to make sure that there is a baffle, that all this is blocked off, okay? Therefore, when the air gets drawn in from the bottom, you will have, if it's in a slide room, it is required to have fans, and they are usually about in this area, right up in here. I've seen them put down here, but let's keep it the way the manufacturer designed these things. There's a lot of aftermarket people that do a lot of great designs, but the manufacturer says, whether it's Norcold or Dometic, that's where they want the fans. So let's start with doing it the way the manufacturer wants it installed and see how that goes first. And then we can start playing around with some of these aftermarket things. Some people do this backwards. They decide to start putting in all these aftermarket fans, but they never put in what the manufacturer spec was. The manufacturer spec says less than a 1 inch from the back wall, 0 clearance on both sides. And if you're in a slide room, the fans need to be like, here's your coil things right here, between these two spaces. Okay, that's where the manufacturer wants the fans. So let's put the fans there. And then they get wired up to a thermostat, which is on the side here. I believe they turn on at 135 and they turn off at 115. But also the manufacturer specs that this chimney that I'm talking about, you need to baffle off this air. Air is lazy, it's gonna go in, and if you do not have a baffle, it's gonna come right out. But it's very, 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 very important, I can't stress this enough, that the air that gets drawn in passes through the condenser fin. And to get it to pass through the condenser fin at the top, you need to baffle this so the air can't take a shortcut. And also what's very important is when it comes through these condenser fins, that there's also a baffle on the top to kind of curl it out. So if I were to do a side profile, and this is your, I'm looking at the side of these fins. Okay, so here we have the wall of the RV. Here is my opening. Okay, and here's the roof of the RV. So this is the part that's got those little vents on your side of your RV. And then this would be the, I'm trying to, okay. We need to make sure that the baffle touches just the bottom corner of these fins. So the air that's coming up through here, through our fans here, the air that's coming up, it can't go out here. It has to go through the fins. And then at the top, we need the little curly thing right here. So there goes through the fins and then out. Okay, I've done some videos where I've explained this a couple times. Check out our refrigerator playlist video. And I've drawn it a little bit better, more clearly. But anyway, if the freezer's not freezing like you expect it to, it very well could be that you're not getting, and I'll just go with this one more thing. Why is it so important to pass the air through these fins? And that's because down here, this whole refrigerator is a story of ammonia. So it's all about ammonia. It's not about anything else, it's just ammonia. The hydrogen they put in there supports the ammonia. The distilled water they put in there supports the ammonia. The sodium chromate they put in there keeps the ammonia from rusting the pipes. Okay, so it's a whole story of ammonia. Ammonia changes states 4 times from a liquid to a gas. There's 2 heat exchangers in these things, a liquid heat exchanger and a gas heat exchanger. So I've covered all that in videos before. So the ammonia starts off down at the bottom as a liquid absorbed in water, okay? And then we have a distillery on your refrigerator, and that ammonia gets distilled out of the water to create an ammonia vapor. And now when it gets back up here, it's an ammonia vapor, but we need that ammonia vapor to come back to a liquid again. And the way we get that ammonia vapor to come back to a liquid is through those fins right there. That's where we're doing it. And if you can't get the air to pass through those fins, then it's not gonna become an ammonia vapor. That's not gonna become an ammonia liquid. Strong, pure, unadulterated, do not pass go, ammonia liquid. Pure ammonia liquid is what we want. And the way we do that is through these vents right here, the condenser fin. It then goes into the refrigerator, into the high temperature cooling module part of it, the upper part of the refrigerator. The evaporation point of ammonia is minus 22 degrees. But if you didn't get that much ammonia out of it because it didn't cool, and there's still just a little bit of ammonia liquid, not a lot because you never cooled it down, then you're not gonna get a lot of ammonia vaporizing, okay? So I hope that made sense. If your freezer's only getting to 8, let's make sure you have a baffle. Let's make sure your fans are working, and let's make sure that the air is going through the fins only. There's no other way for that air to go except for through the fins. That will bring the ammonia vapor back to ammonia liquid, and then it gets squirted through, and I covered in my video where it goes from a small space to a large space. It vaporizes minus 22 degrees. We vaporize it into a hydrogen environment, hydrogen being the lightest of all the gases, hydrogen being the one with the best thermal conductive properties. So we're multiplying that ammonia vaporization at minus 22 into a hydrogen environment to magnify the absorption effect of it. And your freezer's not cold, it's just absent of heat because you're absorbing the heat like a sponge kind of a thing. Anyway, so that's what I think's wrong with that. So let's make sure that your fans are working, your baffle is installed, and there's 0 on the sides, less than 1 inch on the back, and let's force that air through the fins and see if that doesn't help you. Okay, I'm gonna land my plane on that.
All right.
My beautiful drawing. And I'll say again, happy birthday, Marine Corps. Hoorah.
Sometimes it freezes up. All right, we're frozen on our side.
Okay, I'll give another question. I'm Johnny from, I don't know, sorry. Johnny, I'm a certified RV tech. I took the class almost 3 years ago, but I do not want to fix everything on an RV. I would rather do preventative maintenance.
Perfect.
What can you suggest that I do? I'm 62.
Okay. My first and foremost recommendation, Johnny, is to go over to our Patreon site and watch our How to Start, Build, Maintain, and Operate a Mobile RV Service Business. We've got 42 episodes. Some of those things are an hour long, so like 40 or 50 hours worth of content on how to do that. So that would be my first go-to reaction, so I don't have to sit here for 40 hours repeating everything we just said. Where I am at in our business is, I'll be honest, I cherry pick a lot of the jobs that I do. I don't work on generators anymore. I don't work on wheel packing of bearings and brakes anymore. I don't do roofs anymore. I don't rip out floors anymore. We're able to run and maintain our entire business off of the appliances, the furnaces, the refrigerators, water heaters, air conditioners, converters, slide rooms, leveling systems sometimes. And it's enough to keep the lights on, pay the bills, feed the kids. I don't have to do everything that I did when we started. When we started our business, I did everything. If a job came my way, I did it. We incorporated in 2014. I started becoming an RV technician in 2011. Prior to that, I was an engineer doing airport automation jobs and all kinds of gee-whizzy engineering type things. So I would say that you can make a very good living as an RV technician, which is one of the reasons we started our series over on Patreon, How to Start, Build, Maintain, and Operate Your Own Mobile RV Service Business. And because people were asking me the question you're asking me right now. And so we decided, well, let's just make a whole series out of it. We'll throw the doors of our business open. We'll let people walk around, ask us questions. How do you do this? What do you stock in your service trailer? How do you process customers? What we've found is a lot of people know how to fix this stuff. They're very handy, but where some of the struggles are that folks have is how to run the business part of it. Onboarding of customers, scheduling, what to stock in inventory, how to figure out your on-site rates, how to figure out your shop rates, how to charge, those types of things. So it's easy enough to know how to fix a furnace. Shoot, you could watch my furnace videos and become an expert on fixing furnaces. But then there's a whole part of how do you legitimately run a business, collecting taxes, paying them back to the state. Are you incorporated? Insurance, all those types of things needs to be a discussion that we have if you're going to do a business like this. If you are going to be working on somebody's RV, you are going to be exposing you and your family to risk. You're working on LP, you didn't do it exactly right, the thing blows up. As wonderful as I am working on LP, I almost burned a refrigerator up 2 years ago. Funny story, but yeah, the customer's standing right there and I almost burned up his RV because I had an LP problem. Flame shooting out of the tube. And we got it taken care of. On that note, the only way to extinguish a propane fire is to cut off the source of propane. There's no fire extinguisher in the world that's going to kill that. So you can make a very good living just doing preventative maintenance. On that note, if you go to our website and you click on the Submit Service Request tab, you will go through that. You don't have to necessarily submit it, but you can go through that form and you're going to see a area that we created called RV Checkup, I think is what it's called, RV Checkup. And you can go through, I think there's 10 or 11 things on that RV Checkup. And that came about because we do seminars, we talk to a lot of RV groups and clubs and campgrounds. And one of the more popular topics that we talk about is RV preventative maintenance. Things that you, your customer, can do on your own. You don't need to hire anybody. And what would happen is when I'm done with my talking points of 15 or 20 minutes, I'm going to leave and I'm bombarded at the door like, hey, I'd like to hire you to do these things you just talked about. And so out of that whole thing came that RV checkup list. And think of it like as a Jiffy Lube thing, where we might find something wrong during this checkup that then needs to become a bigger repair. Okay, and it doesn't mean that you're going to do the bigger repair. If I take, I don't really go to Jiffy Lube, but using them as an example, not that I have anything against Jiffy Lube, but I'm just, let's say that I go to Jiffy Lube and they find there's something wrong with my transmission. I'm using this as an example. I don't know. I don't think Jiffy Lube's going to be pulling my transmission. I need to take that to a mechanic, but they're the ones that found the problem. And so that's a whole business that you could start going to these storage yards where there's 50 to 100 to 500 RVs in there and just making your rounds, doing preventative maintenance, doing really wonderful business there. And if you find something big, hey, maybe you have a relationship with a dealership or a shop or a mobile RV service person, and you can just hand them off to them. But you might want to have a look over at what we did on our Patreon side for how to build, start, maintain a mobile RV service business. For patrons that are at the $15 a month tier up to $25 a month, they have access to all those videos until the end of the year. Starting January, sometime in January, we don't have an exact date. We are going to change that formatting again a little bit. We're just going to make that product a little bit more professional, a little bit bigger, more of a classroom environment with handouts and quizzes and things like that. But you have access to that. So knock yourself out. I think that would be great. We're welcome to have you. And like I said, Tricia and I, we've opened up our business. We've sat here, we've done 42 episodes on answering your questions. So check that out.
Okay, we've got a lot of questions.
Okay.
So I'm going to get right to them.
I'm gonna do faster.
Okay, and I'm going to just go back and forth between pre-queued and then the live, mostly live.
Okay, I'll try to go quick.
So Daniel says, he emailed us, he says, burner and igniter are in very good condition. New circuit board last week.
Is this a furnace or refrigerator?
Yep.
Furnace? Okay, burner,
and
igniter.
then this morning, furnace ignites, runs normal, and heats for about 4 minutes, then flames out. Fan runs for about 1 minute, then ignites again and repeats. Propane pressure good as always. First thought was a failing cell switch, but you have any other ideas?
Yeah, if it's running for 4 minutes and then flaming out, check your high temperature switch. Depending on if it's an Atwood or a Dometic or a Suburban, possibly what's happening is there's a restriction in your ductwork or something that's causing that heat to back itself up inside the furnace. And the high temperature switch in the furnace basically says, I can't shed my heat. I'm getting too hot, so I'm shutting down. So your high temperature switch could be faulted, or there's restriction in your ducts somewhere. So look for that. You could test that if you can get to your furnace, maybe from the front, if they give you an access door. You can actually take your meter. I just came out with a video like a week or two ago, I'm not sure, where I'm actually taking my meter, I'm probing the different circuits, showing you where to look for these faults. But if you can get to the front, you can get that little white connector right there where all your, it's a brown and a red and blue. I explained to you where to pin in with your meter reference to the frame and seeing what circuit is turning off. It's either going to be your cell switch or it's going to be your high temperature switch. Less likely would be the igniter gap, and less likely would be the igniter itself wiggling around. But I've got videos on all those things. Just check out our playlist. But if it's running great for 4 minutes and it extinguishes, my first reaction would be to check to see if the high temperature switch is what's not tripping out because the furnace can't shed its heat. And if it's working great, if the furnace can shed its heat, then it might be the switch itself. And then all switches are not made the same. You need to make sure, like if it's a Suburban, it's a green dot, blue dot. Just make sure that you put the right spec switch, thermostat switch, temperature switch on. If you put the wrong temperature, then it's gonna give you false triggers on that as well. Okay, moving on to the next one. What's wrong?
I don't think it's plugged in. Also,
oh, there you
also
go.
We're having some technical
Okay.
issues on our
It's
end, but I
just
don't think it's coming through on
magnetically
YouTube. Okay,
there you go.
so I wanted to give a shout out to Weldon, who's in Spring, Texas, and the
Hey.
only reason why I know about that is because my cousins grew up there, and
Spring.
so we went and visited them one time for Christmas, and it snowed there.
Oh my gosh,
that was
snowed
so cool.
in Texas. That's crazy.
So okay, so let's see. Keith from Arizona says Dometic RM 8555
Refrigerator.
will not shut off. I held the off button for much more than 2 seconds.
What kind of? It's a refrigerator, I believe.
Oh yeah, Dometic RMD 8555.
Okay, 855. Okay, and it's not turning off. Okay, tell me again. Now that I know what it is.
Will not shut off. I held the off button for much more than 2 seconds.
Okay, and that's one of these European styles, the 85 series, I believe. So you're holding the off switch and it's not turning off. Fascinating. Try something on your fuse panel. See if you can find the fuse. I'm just trying to keep it simple. Try to find the fuse panel that feeds that refrigerator and pull the fuse. Let's try to reset the board is what I'm thinking. And if it still is an issue, you might have a problem with the lower board, less likely the upper board, or the communication between the upper and the lower board. In other words, you pushing buttons is not making it to the lower board. A lot of you have been asking for me to do a diagnosis on an upper board, and I will. I just need to have that issue happen in my life so I can record it. If not, I will try to find one of my refrigerators that I can kind of force the issue or at least talk you through it, even though there's not a problem with it, but pretending that there is. But let's try to, so what I would recommend is there's going to be a fuse on the board, I believe, itself, or you can take, but just go to your fuse panel and find the one for refrigerator and pull that, disconnect your battery, whatever's easiest. If you have a battery disconnect, just flip that off. 30 seconds, you know, let's make sure that all little capacitors on these things are discharged. Let's just make sure the thing's dead in the water and fire it up again. It might work, it may not if there's a fault with your board, but at that point, now we start to diagnose a little bit more. If I was there, I would be checking different things. What would I be checking? I'd make sure that the power's good. There is a such thing on these Dometics. I've talked about this in other videos where you take an AM radio and you kind of go outside away, because it could be electromagnetic or EMF. It should be a noise, a ripple in your converter, or like some people have converted their lights over to LEDs, or they put a fluorescent light in, and it's putting out this harmonic noise throughout the signal, and these boards are being scrambled. And you'll know that that's happening if you take an AM radio and you walk away, and then you start walking towards your RV, and the radio starts going crazy. You start like a metal detector listening for it. So before you start swapping out board parts, it's too bad Radio Shack's not around anymore. But just get like a little AM radio and just walk around. And another thing you could try is just like pull all the fuses except the refrigerator and turn off shore power and see if it works fine then. And then you know for a fact, okay, it's not the refrigerator, there's nothing wrong. There's something in this RV that's creating an electromagnetic interference that's causing the board to get scrambled on itself. And if that's the case, then you just gotta go around, pull fuses until the problem goes away. That's the AM radio, doesn't make the noise anymore, and then you say, it's that fluorescent light I just put in last week, or it's my CPAP machine, or it's my computer, or it's my printer, or something is causing problems. So those are some ideas on that. Okay.
All right, so let's see. Bill Duncan, he's also, I think, on our Patreon.
Yay.
Hey, Bill. Says Atwood furnace turns on with, you notice we're getting a lot of furnace questions.
That's okay.
It's getting cold.
Yeah.
Atwood furnace turns on with heat but shuts off after 20 seconds. After 2 to 5 times turning it on and off, it stays on with heat.
Okay, so it stays on with heat, so it's working, but it takes a while for it to get started. Is that what I understand? Read that again.
The furnace turns on and it has heat.
Okay.
But then it shuts off after 20 seconds. Okay. But he just keeps doing that. He does it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and at some point it turns on, and turning it on and off, it stays on.
Okay, what I want you to do, now you said it was an Atwood furnace, so this would be like maybe an 85 or an 89 series, probably, because Atwood doesn't make them anymore because they got bought out by Dometic. Okay, so here's what, I want you to listen for something. When the furnace starts, okay, so the furnace is gonna go through like I don't know, an 18-second pre-purge, okay? And then after that, you might hear an audible click sound, and coinciding with that click sound, you hear a tick, 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 tick. That's that igniter igniting. What I want you to listen for, if you can get your ear up to it close enough, when it's running at the first time, and it runs for like 20 seconds and then turns off, I want you to see if that ticking sound stays ticking, or if the ticking sound goes away. I'm thinking that the ticking sound is probably going to stay on, and then the board itself never detected the flame. Even though it's putting out heat, even though there's a flame, everybody around here can see there's a flame, but the board never detected the flame. And the board never detected the flame, therefore it shut off the gas valve and it stopped. You do this a couple times, and then things start to heat up, expansion, contraction. So if you're hearing the ticking sound constantly, then it's the gap between your electrode and that burner head. It could be the electrode itself, could be loose, but more likely it's the electrode over the burner. These old Atwoods, the burners, I've got videos on these where the burners were burning a hole in them. The old Atwood burner heads kind of look like that, okay? And this has all the holes all over it, okay? Lots of holes. And where we see is sometimes, I've got a video on this where it gets kind of cooked right there, and that's failed. I've even seen where the electrode comes in and it's actually touching right there. And then just like you say, after a while, it heats up and now it's expanded or contracted or whatever it needed to do, and now it's working fine. So to take your burner out, you need to take off your gas, turn off your LP, disconnect your thing, and there's going to be, if you're going to look in, let me show you the angle you're going to need to see here. So if I'm going to look into my furnace, okay, here's a big combustion wheel, and then this other part. Right here, you're going to have 1, 2, 3 screws, okay? You might have a fourth one over here. You're going to need to disconnect your LP line, and then you're going to take these couple screws out, and you're going to pull this whole thing out. It's 3 or 4 screws. Different model years, they put a 4th screw in. Sometimes they're on the combustion wheel thing, but you're going to have 2 up on the top, 1 over here on the bottom. Take off your LP line, you know. And sometimes I'll take like a flexible putty knife and use like a shoehorn to kind of wedge the gas line and just kind of pull this thing out. And then when you put it in, do the same thing. And but pull that out, take a look at your burner. And when you look at your burner, here's another side profile. It's going to have a little bit of an angle down to it, like there. And then the electrode comes in, and you want your electrode about 1/8 of an inch above. So the reason it's extinguishing after 20 seconds is the board never saw the flame. The only way the board can see the flame is through that electrode. It's called rectifying the flame. And so there's a flame here. This is all under fire. It's all a big, giant, huge inferno. And because there's carbon in a flame, you've got a milliamp current going through this wire, and it's jumping the gap through the carbon in the flame to ground, which is your burner head. And as long as we can move that current through the carbon in the flame, the board says, hey, I have fire. So it's extinguishing because it can't see that. So we need to pull the burner out and look at that and figure out why. All right.
Okay.
Done on that one.
If you all want to let us know on your side of things, if everything seems like it's running smoothly. On our computer here, everything looks glitchy, but I think on the YouTube side, everything's coming through. But if there's any issues, just let us know so we can try to figure that out for you. Okay. But I do want to just take a quick moment to just tell them a little bit about the Sasquatch product.
Okay, sure, yeah.
And how you can get our tools and this Sasquatch product at a discount. And so
I like discounts.
I'm going to open it up. We did look this or show this on our last live stream, and these guys are in Oregon, and they made this really cool T-style door latch, and basically their story is they just got sick and tired of these things breaking.
And they do. The sun cooks them, and the plastic is brittle, and it just breaks.
Here, I'm going to give that to you.
Okay.
You can put it together and show the folks. But yeah, and so the
No. This goes like that.
So they came up with this product, and actually, I'll see if I can, even though we're kind of glitchy, we'll see if we can bring up the product page so we can show you all.
The thing I'm impressed about is this piece right here, and you guys all know how many times have you seen it breaks right in this thing. So where this little latches it, these are crap. Okay, so they've done a really good job on this. This plastic, it just feels really, it feels like good plastic.
Yeah.
And it's in a Sasquatch dude, kind of fun.
They got other clothes, though. They're like,
Yeah.
you can say you get trees and other.
Yeah, so they make different. So there's the, some of you are on sideways, some of them are like that, and this is the part that goes to your door that latches on. But yeah, this is pretty robust. Can I try to break it?
You sure can.
All right.
But let's wait till we get them on or get you on camera. Right now, I had it on the product page. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Pretty tough stuff.
There you go. So you can try to get it on. I don't know if it's
So yeah, I'm trying to break this thing.
Okay, so if you want to get that product, we have the link in the description box below, so you can just click on that link, and we do have a 10% coupon for you.
It's good
and so that's in the description box as well. It is case sensitive, so you might just copy and paste it at checkout. And then we also have our tools, which you can get a 10% discount on as well right now. And so we've got a link to our store in the description box, and the code that you can use as well to get 10% off of all of our tools. And I don't know if Darren, if you want to just grab a couple, and then we're going to move on to your questions.
Okay. Anne's going to hand me a couple. Yeah, I started making tools for myself when I started doing this work, because the Snap-on truck and the Matco truck and the Cornwall truck didn't have things for RV technicians. And so I started making my own tools. And I was very happy doing that. And then all of a sudden people started to watch my videos, and they're like, whoa, where'd you get that tool from? And so I work on Aqua Hots. And so this is a simple little switch that you just plug it into your, now these are for electronic controllers on Aqua Hot. You just plug it into the J2 port, and then you can control your diesel burner, electric heating element, and preheat. It's the same switch as you have inside your coach, but this makes it super easy to work right there, because when you're starting these things up and you're diagnosing them, you need to start and stop them a whole bunch of times to listen to these things that happen within 8 seconds and 7 seconds. And by the time you turn it on inside the coach, by the time you get back out, it's done. So make an Aqua Hot switch. And then if you've watched some of my videos, the older videos, I always had this little 10-foot test lead that I'd play around with. And so here it is right here. And so we were making some of these just today. So I've changed the 10-foot test lead into a 4-foot test lead, but the cool thing is I have stacking banana plugs. And so that's kind of cool. I go with 14-gauge wire. It's all silicone, so that as you're working in the cold, it's not PVC jacketed. It's not going to like look like a tertiary structure. So the thing I like about the stacking banana plugs is you can have a common ground reference. And then also I've got these little, you buy the Fluke set that has the Fluke Master Electronics set, and you're only going to ever use like 3 or 4 of the fittings out of the 10 that they offer you, and the other ones just sit in the bottom of your toolbox. So I went through and I'm like, well, these are ones that I need to do what I do. And so I make this one. You've seen me tap into my battery pack a few times, so I make this one for you guys. Taps directly onto a 12-volt battery. And then these little plugs, again, with the stacking bananas, you could just kind of connect it in. It's like Barbie's Playhouse. You can accessorize it all these different ways. So I'm very proud of this little simple tool. I use this constantly on almost every electrical troubleshooting thing. Not only, it's 14 gauge, so not only can you read it and plug it into your meter, but you could also feed power into it. I've bumped slide rooms, checked solenoids, run lights, and all kinds of stuff with the test lead set. Back to the Aqua Hot thing, when you're diagnosing these Aqua Hots, I've always got this little cheat sheet that I was walking around for years, big 8.5 by 11, and so I basically made these little RV tech cards and kind of, this is on checking that diesel control module, and I've got part numbers on there. So We got tech cards. What else we got? How about that LP? If you're an LP certified, we've got a whole bunch of LP jacks and fittings and taps to tap into your LP fittings, to check LP flow, LP pressure. I don't have a manometer. There's other people that make manometers, but I have all the ways to tap into it. Probably five different ways to tap into an LP line. And so we've got that.
Okay.
We're good? Okay. And if you act now, no. So there's that, and we have some merch. I'm wearing a shirt. We got hats and beanies and coffee mugs and all kinds of stuff for stocking stuffers for your favorite RV technician. And we've got several other tools there, but just go to our website. You'll see them, all the new ones we have coming out.
Yep, there's a link in the description and also the code. So if you put in holiday 10, you'll get 10% off of all of our products.
And I make them myself.
All of the tools.
Well, me and my son, Dakota. He and I make them.
Yeah. So
He's getting really good at soldering. His soldering is better than mine. I've been soldering for years, and I've taught him, and he's doing really amazing. He really is. I'm like, dude, that looks professional. Well, it is professional. Okay, all right. He's really good. He loves it.
So we have a gal that she joins our lives anytime that she can, but she wasn't able to make it today. So she says, I have a question. I was hoping you could answer. I have an
I'll do my best.
Okay. I'll just tell you what I have an 06 Keystone Outback, anyways, etc., etc. My bedroom nearly fell off last week. It is a manual slide and comes out 6.5 feet. The top clips that hold the outside railing broke. I had to make a wooden bracket to support the room. I am a stationary full-time camper. I would like to fix it with a more permanent fix, but still removable, in case I can finally travel with it. It looks like awning clips originally held them and stretched to break from the sustained weight.
I know. Okay, so you said it's a manual pull-out thing. These manual pull-out things, like if this is your RV, these manual pull-out things, I want to say, and I don't know, but they have like these little outriggers that you have to assemble first, and then you got these little grab handles, and you can kind of pull the room out onto this little platformy thing that you created. Is that kind of what is what's happened? Is there any pictures?
No, I don't really know.
Okay.
I think this would be like if you have any MacGyver suggestions, but otherwise, yeah.
I would try. I need to see it, kind of thing. But I do know that the manual ones you pull out, a lot of times they'll have this little platform thing you build with two little ramps. But I'm an engineer. I want to go back to what the manufacturer's intention was. Okay, so why did it break in the first place? Is there rotten wood? Is there other mechanical pieces that failed that need to be fixed? What's stopping you from fixing something and then it breaking again? So I like to go back to the way it was as much as I possibly can, because the manufacturer got approval to build it that way by the DOT. So we start building stuff out of left field. How's that any better than what the manufacturer did? You know, even though we can riff on manufacturers all day long, they do make millions of RVs, you know. So I need to see it really, but even then I would want to see it with my own eyes. But I always like to try to go back to what the intention of the manufacturer was when they built it. So I would try my best to go back to the original intent of what they were trying to do, is what I would say, without actually seeing this. That would be my answer.
Okay.
Okay. A weird one. I need to see it. I don't know.
And then Otto is in Utah. He says, furnace does not run after the first cycle. Furnace comes up, ignites, goes off, but blower does not start again. I have to manually power it off, then back on after 15 seconds, and starts again, then stops when the room temperature reaches set point, but will not start again.
Survey said probably a sticking sail switch. More than likely, it's a sticking sail switch. Now, but the way we can tell that is when you said the furnace won't start again. Is that to say that when it tries to, so it works the first time through, great, wonderful, but then it reached temperature, it turned off, and now it wants to turn back on again. Is the blower even starting? Is my question. If the blower will not even turn on, then it's gonna be a sticking sail switch. It's stuck in the open position. I'm sorry, stuck in the closed position, stuck in a closed position. We see this a lot of times for folks that have, pets or they smoke, anything like that, because that furnace is sucking in all this air. And the sail switches, you might even take the sail switch out, look at it in your hand. You can move the little lever, it'll make click, click, click sound. So mechanically the switch is working, but electrically these little points inside that we can't see because you have to break the thing to get into it, the points might be fouled out and not allowing the current to flow through, okay? So when we see that problem, most of the time it's a sail switch fault. Depending on if it's stuck open or stuck closed, will tell us if the fan will even try to start. If the fan won't even try to start at all, okay, maybe your fan's bad, maybe the board's bad, because it could be a bad board, could be a bad fan, but overwhelmingly it's the sail switch. Yes?
He says blower does not start at all.
Okay, then bang on it real quick and see if that fixes it, because it seems like your sail switch is stuck closed. So it's working, it's working, it's working, it's working. Yay, it's reading up temperature. The sail switch is hanging out here. The sail switch is this little thing like this with a long arm on it, okay? Wind is blowing and the sail switch then moves up in this position and it sounds like it's staying up. So that is to say when your blower stops, the sail switch did not fall back down again. And after a period of time, it might think about it and like, okay, I guess I'll drop back down again. And because what happens is this little hinge right here gets gummed up, and these sail switches are like 20 bucks. And sometimes they stick them right inside the worst possible place. But if the fan's not even starting, then it's a sail switch stuck in the closed position. And then you bang on it, sometimes it'll drop back open. We have that on our furnace at home. And I refuse to fix it because I'm making a new tool to diagnose these things. It's like, just bang on it. So bang on it, see if that fixes it. And if it does fix it, then it's a sail switch. Okay?
All right, and Dave says, I'm full-time, just wondering if I should cover my LP lines from the tank from the ice and snow buildup just to protect the line.
Your lines are going to be external underneath your RV. I wouldn't worry about it. We have been full-timing for 16 years, and we've been through Wyoming and 40 below. We've been through 2 Buffalo winters with 6 feet of snow. I've never worried about covering my LP lines. I've never skirted in 16 years. I wouldn't worry about it. The LP is going to follow the gas law, which is vicious. I hate the gas law. The colder it gets, the less vaporization pressure you're going to get. It's a terrible law. Instead of protecting your LP lines, I would try to keep my LP tanks warm. So you could put blankets on them. You can put a heating pad on them. They even have tank heaters. So I wouldn't worry about lines. I'd worry more about the tanks. Keep your tanks warm, keep your tanks full, and you'll be fine. Don't worry about the lines. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Also on that note, if you guys are gonna be wintering over in your RV, that was a series that I did. I haven't done one in a while, but I have a whole one of the seminars that we talk about is how to live in your RV during the wintertime. And here's where you find those notes that I have for that. If you go to our website, I don't know if you guys want to.
We've got a link.
Okay, go to our website. I'm just going to talk you through it. Go to our website. I think it's under the resources tab. Go to the blogs. I don't blog anymore because now we have YouTube, but I used to blog. And if you go to the blogs, and I think it's on page 2, scroll down through all these different things that I wrote. You're going to find one on Darren's seminar notes on winter camping or something along those lines is what it's called. Make a bag of popcorn, big old jug of coffee or something. Those are notes that I've collected over years of winter camping. And when I do a seminar on winter camping, I don't go through every one of those notes, but it's just, I collect these things and I just kind of threw them out there as a blog to help other people out. So there's lots and lots of information in that outline, if you will, on living in your RV during the wintertime. Ann and I have done that many winters, and when we were in Buffalo, we had to put our RV up on cinder blocks just because the snow was so deep we couldn't even open the door. We had to build tunnels to get to things. It was crazy. But yeah, we've RV'd in the wintertime. And propane freezes at -44, and we've been in Wyoming when it's -44, and the propane didn't work. So going back to keeping your propane tanks warm will help you out there. So more resources for you guys for camping in the wintertime. Okay.
All right. And this next one, I'm not really sure. It's all Greek to me, so I don't even know if it fits within your realm, but I'm just going to...
If not, I'll just say next.
Go for it. Okay. So...
I don't know. Next.
I'm a new certified tech. Yeah. And so he says, swapping a triad, UTRAD 742 for a power dynamic PD9245C.
Okay.
Any pointers?
I think, help me out here. Is that a automatic transfer switch?
Okay, so if you're still on, why don't you go ahead and maybe fill in with that any other info?
Yeah,
and then I'll go to the
help
next
me.
one.
I don't keep that in my brain on what the part numbers are. But so is that an automatic transfer switch, or what exactly is that? I understand some of the manufacturers' names, but they make a lot of stuff. Give me a little more information on what you got, and I'll give you my best shot on it.
Okay. And then the next one is, any idea on how to trace down a blockage in an Aqua Hot zone? I switched pumps and checked valves, drained, flushed, and filled, yet air can be send in the loop under the bed in the slide out and zone cold.
I have used compressed air before. And the reason I'm using, so if I have an Aqua Hot, that's just bad news. I'll drain it because I'm going to put new fluid in it. And sometimes you replace the check valves. Check valves are typically right there on top of the Aqua Hot, but then they go through the cozy heaters. My question is, what would possibly cause a blockage in the loops that made it past the check valve? So I've seen loose fittings, and anytime I'm working on a plumbing problem, a plumbing leak problem, whether it's an Aqua Hot, an Oasis, or domestic water, I like using compressed air. So you just get yourself a fitting, you make yourself something, and maybe T3 Interface will make something for you guys. But and I use compressed air. Air will compress more than water will, and I'll crank that thing up to like 80 psi, and I will walk around listening for a hissing leak sound. And I like using air over water because I'm not going to flood the person's RV. So I'll do low point drains, drain everything out, let the water out, use compressed air. Because like I said, air will compress, so I'd feel safe going up to 80 psi, and you just walk around listening for hisses. And then it's easier to see if the thing's going down. Bypass your water heater if you're doing domestic hot water, you're going to be using a lot of air. But on the Aqua Hot, if the check valves will stick. Sometimes you can bang on them, but sometimes you just got to replace them because they've just, bad news, failed. They get stuff built up. I've got a couple bad check valves, and my plan is to kind of slice them open and show you guys what a failed check valve looks like with like my bandsaw, and run it through the bandsaw and say, hey, look at this. I've done that to LP hoses and the green fittings on the LP lines, and there's a little BB in there, a little spring, really exciting stuff. And I'm going to be capturing all that in video and sharing it. But on your Aqua Hot, they go through the cozy heaters. Where is a blockage in the loop? If it made it past a check valve, I'm having a hard time understanding why there would be a blockage somewhere in either of the two loops that goes to the front or the back of the RV that goes to the cozy heaters. So if you do have a blockage somewhere, then you're going to go old school. You got to find each cozy heater, take your hose clamp off, blow it out, put it back together, and just systematically go through each section of that loop up between each of those heaters and blow it through the heater to try to find out where the loop is. That's going to take some time. So I hope that helped, but sometimes you just got to embrace the suck and just go the long way and figure those things out. I have done that, but yeah, and what we found on that was a cozy heater was bad. So replace the cozy heater. So yeah.
All right.
Sorry, but that's my that's my thinking on that one. They're not all easy fixes.
So Rick, who is also over on our Patreon,
yay, thank you,
says, I have a Norcold N8X. It vents up through the roof.
Okay. My
refrigerator temp fluctuates between 32 and 42. I'm now in Florida, which I'll pause. He was the one that was asking refrigerator questions about like it not staying lit while driving.
Ah.
And so, but he did say it worked on propane all the way to Florida.
Okay.
So woohoo. Okay, so that's okay. So I'm now in Florida, and it's been about 80 degrees. Wow.
What is that like? Oh my gosh.
2 questions. One, do I drop the thermistor? There's some
8.
Okay, I'm going to try to, do I drop the thermistor down on the fin for colder temp, and does it matter which fin?
Okay. All the way to the right hand. Okay, so
you want to just take that? And then
I'll take that one.
Okay.
So I know Norcold and he said, he said it's a Dometic.
No, Norcold
It's
N8X.
Norcold N. Look in your service manual, because this I think is one of those European styles, the N8s. I believe it's the European style. We don't see that many of those. If I work on 1,000 refrigerators in a year, which seems about normal, less than 10 are these European models. Okay. So, but I do know that and I don't think it's the N8s, I do know that Norcold has you count over to the 10th fin and put it on the 10th fin, and then you can move it to the 9th or the 11th to dial it in. But I don't know if that's the N8. On the Dometic, it's typically the fin all the way on the right-hand side, and you slide it up to make it colder and down to make it hotter. On the Norcold, can you even slide the thermistor up and down? Typically, they don't have, on the Norcolds, you don't slide the thermistor up and down, you move it over a couple fins. It's a whole different way of doing it. So, and I think on those, it starts off on the 2nd fin. So check your manual. We have a lot of manuals on our website. I believe we've got a lot of Norcold manuals on our website. I know we have a lot of Dometic manuals on our website. But the manual, what you're looking for, like, I don't keep a lot of operating manuals, and most of the manuals I keep are the service manuals. So I like service manuals and offering those up to you guys, no problem. Somebody said, well, why don't you do that as a thing where you have to get the email from somebody to get them? Like, no, just go to the website, get the email, get the manual, fix your own stuff, right? I'm not going to get your email to give you a manual. Just take the manual, but there's service manual. But so I know on Norcolds, I've been to their schools. Some of them, it starts off with a 10th fin, and you can go 9 or 11 to dial it in. Some of them, it's a 2nd fin, and then you can go over one more and over one more to dial it in. On the Dometics, you slide the thing up and down. That's what I'm doing from memory. It would be fun to actually go to the manual and find that, because I'm a manual nerd and I like looking up this kind of stuff. But
it says I can pull it off the fin and move the thermistor up or down.
But I think on the Norcolds, they want you to move it in, or try, if it's on the 2nd fin, bring it to the 3rd, see what that does, and then bring it to the 1st, see what that. I'm remembering sitting in a class. It was in a very cold warehouse. The Norcold guy was there. We were all freezing. They fed us pizza. You remember that one? I went home and took a scalding hot bath because mine was cold to the bone. We were learning about refrigerators. But yeah, we were talking about moving the thermistor on the Norcold over a couple fins, not up and down. If you're a tech and you know the answer, chime in. But I'm remembering moving the fins left and right, not up and down on a Norcold. Dometic, up and down, yes. Norcold, I want to say bringing it in and out.
And then
be a fun problem to have. I like data loggers, and I put a data logger on thing in a heartbeat. Okay, what's the next part?
Number 2 is if I add a fan outside, do I have to put it up high? And if so, does that mean I have to remove the fridge to get at it?
Yes, typically you do have to remove your refrigerator to get to the fan. You said it vents out through the roof. Your refrigerator, so here would be your refrigerator, okay? And then here it's venting out through the top, so you have your chimney. And then here would be your condenser fins. We were talking about this earlier. And here is these little coil things going to the absorber vessel. Typically, we like seeing fans right in this area, above the condenser fan, below the condenser. The condenser coils, the condenser fins. This is where the ammonia vapor is going up, and the hot water is going down, and the smoke is going up, the water is going down, and then the water from your boiler gets returned, and it's absorbing the ammonia out of it. So we want them right here. We want to keep this kind of warmer, and we want the fans to be here to blow through this condenser, and we talked about that earlier, how important getting this cooled down was. So that will only help. But to put the fans on, Norcold has a fan kit. It's like $80, okay? And then over here, you're going to have this little thermostat that attaches to the fins. And I believe it turns on at 135. That's a 5. And it turns off at 115. That's supposed to be, go with it. I'm a Marine. Give me some crayons. I got to eat my crayons. So you're going to screw this little temperature thing to the side of the fin, and it's going to turn the fans on and off. I've even seen where some people will just put the fans on a switch and leave them on. So I've seen it a bunch of different ways. But
all right, we are down to the last 2 questions,
Oh,
and we're
boy.
just about ready to finish up.
okay.
So Richard says TV box has power, but when I connect the black antenna coaxial, the power light goes out. Even bought a new box and it does the same.
Say that again.
TV box has power.
Okay. Okay. So the TV box. This is a thing that looks like a wall receptacle that's got the 2 little coax things. A push button, a little green light. I'm assuming. Okay.
But when I connect the black antenna coaxial, the power light goes out. Even bought a new box and it does the same.
It sounds like you have a short. Okay. So what I want you to do is take this off. And okay. So follow with me on this. Here's your coax wire with a little end. Okay. And it's got that little copper piece sticking out of it. I want you to take your meter and touch the copper piece. I think you have a short. Somewhere your wire is touching something it's not supposed to touch. So take your meter, your red lead, and touch the copper point, and then check for continuity, and then touch the metal part of your thing. It should be open. Okay, if it's beeping, then there's a problem with that wire. And that's probably why the light is turning off, because it's shorting itself out. Maybe not enough to trip the fuse, because your fuse might be a 15 amp fuse. This might just be a single little bitty strand or something. It's not enough to pull 15 amps. Yeah, I would check the copper wire, your coax wire, the copper pin to the little metal buckle that turns. It sounds like you may have a short on your coax wire. So here would be another test. If it's your antenna, go get another strand of coax, stick it, screw it into the back of this thing, run out a window or door, screw it up to your antenna. Does it work fine then? If it works fine then you know there's a problem with the coax that's running through your walls and your ceiling. So see if that doesn't help. We would run coax all over these RVs, along the floor and everything, and find out, okay, yes, there's a short in the wall or something where it's messed up and it's touching, causing the problem you're having. Hope that helps.
All right, so we are on our last question. Clara says, our Dometic RMD 8555 is in a slide out and will not stay cold. Freezer is good. Already have baffles, fans in chimney, and inside the fridge in front of the fins.
Okay, your homework assignment is to take your refrigerator, go through your bottom opening right here. This is you take your cover off. Over here, you're going to have your boiler. Actually, it's going to go up. You have your boiler, and then you have this big round vessel, okay? And coming out of it, you've got these tubes that go up. What I want you to feel for after your refrigerator's been running for a few hours, I want you to take your hand and I want you to feel the temperature of the boiler, and I want you to feel the temperature of the tubes above this. So feel this. They should be similar in temperature, about a 10-degree difference between it, where these are about 10 degrees cooler than this, okay? So if the boiler is hot and the coils are hot, you do not have a blockage. Your cooling unit is healthy and happy. If this is so hot you can't touch it, and these are cold, then you have a blockage, meaning you have to replace, not your refrigerator, you have to replace your cooling unit. If this is just warm, but this is so hot you can't touch it, then you have a leaker, which is also indicated of yellow sodium chromate down here on the bottom. So they're either going to be similar in temperature, no blockage, hot and cold, no circulation, blockage, or warm and very hot, leaker, your hydrogen's escaped, you're boiling your ammonia into no hydrogen environment, and it's just, you're burning the thing up. Not your RV, but it's just burning, it's like a coffee pot that's gone awry. So if your freezer is cold and your refrigerator is just warm, you could have a slight blockage, okay? And that's how that's your go, no-go test on a cooling unit. If you just touch the two things. I go in, we did one just 2 days ago. I gave the guy a homework assignment. His refrigerator was off, okay? So when I get there, I kind of needed to have run for a day. and I like to see a coffee cup or something with water on the top shelf of the refrigerator. So if I'm coming in to diagnose your problem here, then I'm going to say, okay, let's take a coffee cup full of water, put it on the top shelf of that refrigerator right next to the fins, and let it run all day. And then when I get there tomorrow, the next day, one of the first things I'm going to do is feel the temperature of the boiler and the temperature of these coils after the refrigerator has been running for a while, at least an hour or longer. They should be, what? Oh, y'all are distracting me. They should be similar in temperature. Then I will go check the temperature, the water temperature of the water in the refrigerator. It's not enough to check air temperature of a refrigerator. You need to check food temperature of a refrigerator, which is where the water in the coffee cup comes from. We need to know how cold those pickles are, how cold that tuna fish salad is, right? And that's not air temperature, folks. That's water temperature in water. Now the freezer, it's good enough to do air temperature because that's below zero, it's frozen. But if you're checking temperature in your refrigerator, it's not enough to do air temperature. Stick the probe in water, and you're looking for 37 to 40 degrees. So if you've got your baffling, if you've got your proper chimney and everybody's happy, because the first thing I would say is your ventilation up the back side. That's my go-to every time I work on these refrigerators. I want to make sure that the chimney is perfect as it could possibly be. That the air is being brought in on the bottom. It has to go through the coils. It has to go through the fin, and then let's get it out of there either through the roof or out. Another thing you could try is to put your fans on there. But if you're having performance issues, what that means is either you have a blockage or I'm pointing up to where I drew that drawing earlier in my video here, the fins. We've got to get that ammonia vapor brought back to an ammonia liquid so it can maximize turning back into a vapor, where it does that at minus 22. That's where the freezing takes place. And it's just one continuous loop from the freezer down to the refrigerator. So you could add fans. Check your temperature between these two. We want a similar temperature. You already said you had baffles. And so those would be some things that I would be checking right away. The other thing I would be checking is I would be asking, does it do the same on electric and on LP? If it works great on electric but not so much on LP, okay, maybe you're not getting the right amount of BTUs to heat this. This needs to be about, depending on your refrigerator, 400 to 600 degrees. And it's a very specific temperature it wants to get to. So we talked about how important it is to get the condenser, to condense your ammonia vapor back to a liquid, but maybe you never got it hot enough. Maybe your heating element is failing. Maybe the LP pressure is too low, not able to generate the BTUs. Maybe your burner is dirty and your flame is restricted. So there could be some things going on there. So again, check it on LP, check it on electric, compare your results. So hopefully that helps. Check your temperature here between the two. And those would be some things I would be looking for on that.
All right. And we are done. Andy, I know you had a question about our business card. I believe you're over on our Patreon. And so we'll go ahead and we'll start the live stream over there with that. And that link will be on there. So even if you're not able to stay for the live stream, you can just go back and watch it later. So we are done here. We're going to hop over to Patreon, where we do an exclusive live stream on there. So if you are not already over on our Patreon, you can join. There's a link in the description box. And if you join tonight at any of the tier levels, you could get access to our exclusive live stream as well as other cool benefits. And I do want to remind you as well that there are product links in the description box for the Sasquatch, and then also for our store for the tools that we make. And you get discount codes for both of those, and so those are in the description box. And our next live stream will be Friday, December 8th, same time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. And so we hope that you'll join us there with your questions. And if you're on Patreon, we hope we'll see you there in just a few minutes.
Just a few minutes.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Happy birthday, Marine Corps.
Bye.
All right, bye.